Hey guys, Jonah here, and today I bring to you my toolkit, which I would consider to be the ultimate compact toolkit, the most versatile problem-solving toolkit you will ever see. I've been working on this kit for years. I'm an electrician by trade, electrical engineer. Fixing machines and equipment is my day job, but you have to have a pretty versatile toolkit to be able to do that. And on my tool hunts around the world, I've discovered some amazing, quirky, multifunctional tools, and this is the culmination of all of that hunting. These 3 layers of foam contain over 50 tools, and there's some absolutely amazing tools in here. Some brands you're gonna know, some really quality German tools, some brands you're probably never gonna have heard of because they're all new on me, and they're all enclosed in this really cool Vacom tool bag. I found this in Leroy Merlin in one of my French tool trips, and when I saw this, I thought this is the foundation of a really good tool bag. So it's 3 layers, it's a nice blank canvas inside. So today I'm gonna talk you through all of the items in this toolkit, why I think this is the most functional toolkit, and I'm pretty sure I've got all the bases covered with this. So let me get into it, talk you through the tools, and I think we'll start with the base layer. I think we kick off with a strong start, and I'll show you the screwdriver solution. I'm not a big fan in having your screwdrivers only being covered by a bit set. A lot of different boiled down toolkits you see will usually be based around like a bit set, the little 1/4" bits. Now there are some of those in here, but they don't make very good screwdrivers. But what does make a good screwdriver? Well, I would say a screwdriver makes a good screwdriver, and not a little 1/4" bit in a bit holder. So this is the Wera stainless steel set, or Vera, the pronunciation is. You get 2 handles and you get 12 of the blades, and when they click into the handle, you couldn't tell that apart from a normal screwdriver. The Wera normal screwdrivers look very similar. These are VDA, so they're electrically insulated. They're stainless steel, so they're gonna last you. The insulation on the blades goes right down to almost hardly even, you can't even feel the step there. So if you're tightening screws and they're down like a little tunnel sometimes, you can't quite get to them. Some of these cheaper screwdrivers will have really thick insulation. You can't get the screwdriver in, or if it's a bit, you've got no chance because the steel bit holders are really chunky. Whereas with the Wera set, you've got a full set of decent screwdrivers, and I've put both handles in because a lot of the time when you're doing a job, you do need maybe a terminal driver, maybe a posi driver, and you want to be able to just switch between. You don't want to be clicking out the handles all of the time. So having the ability to have 13 good solid screwdrivers, 2 handles, I don't think there's any compromise on screwdrivers. We've got a really good comprehensive kit here, but I didn't want any compromises. So I thought 13 screwdrivers from Wera, stainless steel, 2 handles, what a strong start that is. And I love that, so I use it all the time. On the theme of handles, have you ever seen this one, Saber Cut? This is a clever little tool. This is one of the quirky tools I found on Amazon. Now, it's a pretty stout feeling, nice solid handle. It has got a 1/4" bit, so it can take traditional 1/4" bits. Here's one here. This is the Gator Grip from Endeavour. So you might have seen this. This is like a little pinned socket. And you've got a 1/4" adapter here that goes in there. The socket goes on, and you have quite a traditional 1/4" bit driver. But you pull this little slip back here, and it'll go into a trigger grip, which is also quite good. But that's not what makes it special. That's not what makes it impressive in my eyes. The thing that I really like about this is not only is it a decent 1/4" bit driver, and like I say, it's got that trigger grip, it also functions as a recip saw handle. So if you get a standard recip saw blade like this one with this little teng on it, that slips into here. You twist this little bevel here, you can slot the blade in and then lock it up, and you've got a little jab saw basically. And you can put any of the different recip blades. You can see how many I've got here. In this kit, I've got 9 recip blades, some for metal, some for wood. I've even got one for foam. This is a foam insulation one by Bosch. So I've got 9 pad saws, and it's a really good like foundation piece for the kit because we've got a saw and an additional 1/4". Some of these multifunction tools can have a load of stuff built in but can compromise on quality, whereas that I think is a really good item. I've already mentioned the little Endeavour socket. This is a multi-size socket, and I don't ever usually use it for nuts and bolts, but for hook and eye loops and like wing nuts and weird fixings, this can be just quite useful. It can get you out of a pinch. It's only small, it fits in the kit, it's multi-purpose, and it's a really good, it's the US made Endeavour one. So we've got that in the kit. Down here, you can see I've got an item, that's my first item cut underneath. So where the Saber Cut handle was, underneath there, we've got a 4-in-1 metal file. So this is a 1/2 round metal file and a 1/2 round rasp, and then a flat file and a flat rasp, all in one tiny little item. And again, it's one of those things, you don't really need it very often, but if you've ever tried to jumpstart a car with like messed up battery terminals, you're going to be glad you've got a file to just clean up the copper and get a proper fix on it. That's just the thing I've used it for, but you can use this for smoothing over a bit of metal. Maybe something's not fitting and you need to just file it down a little bit. I got this from Walmart in America, but I have seen these on Amazon. You can get these all over the place. You just have to search 4-in-1 engineer's file, probably about 5 that is. Moving on, well, I've taken this out, so I'll show you this. This, again, Max Power from Amazon. It's a bit of a multi-tool, but it's a useful one because it's a crowbar, which is usually a big item. If I had a crowbar in this kit, it'd take up a lot of room. If I had a hammer in this kit, it would take up a lot of room. And I don't think I'd ever put a podge bar in, but it doesn't hurt to have a podge bar. So this is for like lining up 2 metal holes, and you can just do a little bit of prying and jimmying with it. And it's also got a 1/2 inch socket drive and a 3/8 inch socket drive. So I can connect that up with this 3/8 socket, and that would give me a little bit more torque if I'm struggling. I don't have any 1/2 inch in this kit, but the amount of function in this one item, just the hammer alone, to have a decent hammer with a long handle on it would take up too much room in this kit. But I think that sets the tone for the whole kit, really. We're not looking for a little compact, you know, sometimes you'll get a hammer with a really short handle. And I've seen little compact kits on YouTube before where they've gone for something like that, a short handled hammer. And the handle is so important. If you've got a big lump of metal on the end of the hammer and there's no handle to get a bit of swing on it, get a bit of impact, but with this one, you don't have that problem. It's a hammer, it's also got like the nail puller on the side, so it functions in the same way as a claw hammer, but you've got the socket wrench in there as well, so absolute winner, that one. Moving on, we've got a chisel to go with a hammer, and a chisel, again, it's a big item, but this is the Stanley folding chisel. It's 25mm, so it's pretty much the most common or popular size you're ever going to want. If you ever just tried to just take a little bit of material away just to sink a hinge in a bit deeper, or whatever you're doing, you need to just pare away a bit of material. The 25mm is always the one you reach for first, in my opinion. This one is half the size. The handle folds over the top and protects the blade. It's got this metal tang on the end, so you can hit it with the hammer and really get some good work done with it. And once the handle clips in, these 2 parts here clip together really tightly, and it doesn't feel like a janky folding chisel. It feels really decent. So for me, that is a real bonus. I didn't know if I'd be able to fit this in the kit, but I was hoping to. Because I don't know about you, but in my house, every now and then you'll have a door sticking, or there's a handle, or something's dropped, and you just need a chisel to just straighten something out or get something working properly. Next up, we've got a tape measure. Now, honourable mention, I very nearly included my little 2-metre Milwaukee tape measure, because a 2-metre tape will do most things. Usually you're only measuring, you know, less than a metre really. But this Magnum tape here from Finland is something a bit special. It's not much bigger than this little compact Milwaukee 2-metre tape, but this one is 5 metres. And basically it's really tightly wound. It's called the Magnum Super Compact, and it's 5 metres of tape measure, metric tape. And look, it's not even that much bigger really. And I thought that, especially because I've got the depth in the foam, and as you can see, it's quite a wide tape, so it's a lot more useful being a 5-metre tape. If you need to measure the span of a room, if you're at home and you need to measure how big is your floor for carpet or wallpaper, usually you want to measure a full wall. And I thought that is a lot better to have in this kit. So again, a full 5-metre tape in a compact toolkit. How good is that? Next up, if you can't measure it with a 5-metre tape, you can measure it with the little DeWalt Atomic laser measurer. Look how small this is. This was 30 quid and it's pretty awesome. It's DeWalt, it's solid, it's charged using the same item as the torch and the little multimeter I've got, and it just means that you can measure above 5 meters with that. So look how tiny. Takes the functionality up another gear, which I love. Next up, we've got Allen keys. Now, Allen keys are an item that can take up a huge amount of space if you let them. Here's a traditional set of Allen keys. If I was to lay that in here, I'd fit it in, but I'd lose a few other items. And a lot of the time, you're never using the 10mm or the 8mm Allen key. They very rarely get a trip out. So this little set here is by Raw. I picked this up in Denmark and actually got the matching torque set. They're absolutely tiny. They're in a little round holder. Look at the difference here. The amount of space you're saving, and you've still got a full Allen key you can take out. It's not one of these little gimmicky folding sets that can be a right faff. If you've ever had a set of folding Allen keys, sometimes the plastic handle makes them really difficult to use and you've not got the length. Whereas this is a full size 6mm ball end Allen key, really nice quality, and it's in this little set. And then you've got the matching torque set, and those two there take up less room than a normal Allen key set. This is a decent weir set, but you never really need the 10 and the 8, and you don't need the bigger torque sizes, or at least I don't, and if I do, I'll have to go and get a bigger toolkit. So with those two combined, I've pretty much got full coverage of hex and Torx keys. That's nearly done. We've got one more item in here, and that is a 1/4 inch extension. Such a small item. I've cut it underneath. What was that underneath? That was underneath the chisel, and it just gives a little bit more option to the handle here. So rather than having 1/4 inch bit straight in the end or having the Endeavour bit just popping out a little bit, we've got, what's that, about 100mm extension. So it's always good to have that, gives it a bit more versatility. And that is the first liner done. That is a lot of tools already, and I've only gone through one layer, and it's all nice and organized. We've got cutouts and everything, finger pulls, so every item is easy to get to. Another honourable mention, to be fair, before I move on to the next inserts, was this little handy cutter from Toolan. Now, I was torn a little bit between the saber cut handle and this handle here. So this is by Toolan. I think this came from Amazon as well. and it will take the reset blades in very much the same way as the saber cut handle, which, you know, gives me that pad saw, gives me that functionality. The one thing that this does that's a little bit different is it will also take a full-size hacksaw blade. That just slots straight in there and functions in the same way. And it doesn't stop there, because it also takes standard jigsaw bits. They also lock into the handle in much the same way. So essentially with this, any saw blade that you've got, hacksaw blade, reset blade, jigsaw blade, you can put in the handle and turn it into a little hand saw, a little pad saw. Now the reason I didn't go for that is because I think it's a great tool, and I probably will put it in one of my toolkits, but I think I can put a whole host of reset blades in this kit, which mitigates the need to look round for a hacksaw blade or look round for a jigsaw blade. And with the added 1/4-inch bit holder, I am getting a bit more function out of that, and it does lock in really nice and tight as well, which is just makes it, once you lock that collar, it really locks down nice and tight. So let me know, which one would you have gone for? Are these two both new on you? Because I do tool hunts all around the world, and not just around the world. I've looked on Amazon, Temu, spent hours trawling through tools, trying to find the new and innovative tools that are solving problems and giving you the most function, but without that lack on quality. So I think what we've put together here is a very, very strong toolkit, and I'm only through one layer. So let's get into the next one. So next layer, we've got some cool tools here. I'll start right in the middle, and that is with a gas soldering iron. The thing with certain tools is a gas soldering iron can do jobs no other tool can do. If you need to solder wires, you need a soldering iron. The Weller WP3 is one I've had for a few years. I've actually got another one in my big roll cab, and I like it so much I bought a second for this kit. And essentially you fill the end with butane, so it's just like a standard lighter refill. That's really easy. It's really easy to light because you don't need a separate lighter, although there is a lighter in this kit, and it just works really well. All the attachments underneath, I've got different heads and attachments here, plus the little spanner and a little spool of solder. So to be able to just do a quick repair on the fly without having to plug in, without having to mess about, this thing is locked and loaded, ready to go, and it's in the kit. We've also got a set of Nipex. The model on this is 7101-200, and it's a pair of bolt croppers. These things are really tough. They will cut through nails and chain and even little locks. It's a pretty beastly little set, this, and look, not very long at all. Now, honourable mention again, I've got a few tools that nearly made it into the kit. This is the Weir Bicuts. Now this is like a pair of snips, but they have this power button. I reckon you won't have seen that on another pair of snips before, unless you've seen the Weir Bicuts. Now this power button, if you press that in, you have to give it a little bit of a wiggle, but once it goes in, it changes the pivot point of the pliers, and you get a lot more torque. And this thing too is pretty beastly. It can cut through chain and it can cut through nails, but not quite as well as these. These require less force or a little bit easier. And everything that these are doing, over and above cutting through chains, which these can do, one of my favourite tools of all time can do, and this is a pair of Nipex multi-cutters, 1376-200 this model. We will put the names of all these things and the links down in the description, or at least the ones that we can find. Some of these I've had for a few years. But this pair of multi-cutters can strip cables. You've got 0.5mm all the way up to 6mm with the cable strippers. You've got a long nose pair of pliers on the end, and also a bit of a combination plier too, because you can see they're quite a wide tip on these. And you've also got a stepped cable cutter, which means you can cut through cables, and it's a little bit easier than a traditional cable because you're not cutting through the whole thing at once. It steps it, and it's just a lot easier. I had the old set of multi-cutters for a long, long time. I only recently upgraded to these at one of the tool fairs that I went to, and this was a worthy upgrade, and I'm really pleased with them. So this and this combined give me all the cutting power and cable stripping and cable shearing that I need. And then these are, you know, you don't want to be using the cable shear here to cut through anything other than a cable and through copper, and that's what these bolt cutters are for. They'll come in and cut everything else basically. So between those two, we've got all of the cutting covered. Now below the pair of beastie Nipex multi-cutters, I've got another pretty amazing little tool here. This is made in the USA, and it's called the Slip and Snip. And again, this is a wild little item that I found on a Snap-on van. I think it was about 15 quid, and it's a really solid pair of scissors. You just pull the two handles and then it closes in. And they're not a very long pair of scissors, but they're really tough, and they can cut through some tough stuff. And when you need a pair of scissors, you need a pair of scissors, don't you? Obviously, anything scissors cut, you can cut with a knife, but it's slower, it's more faffy. Can't cut with cable shears. A pair of scissors are really helpful and a nice handy item. And if you see how small they are, and they just fit underneath another item, and they're just there, so if ever I need them, I've got them. Over this side, we've got the smallest little utility key you've ever seen. This is from Verth, and it's also got a little adapter that goes with it, and this can open other square panels. So this is like 5 different square panel keys, plus the 4 more traditional panel keys here, all in a tiny little item. And you do need one of these for opening electrical panels or just opening any sort of gas panel. That is pretty essential. Look how small it is. A traditional one, this is one I really like from Nipex. Look at that one compared. I'm saving a lot of room moving to this little Worth model. So I'm loving that. That is a real big winner for me. Top end, we've got a flute volt stick. Now, you can get smaller volt sticks, to be fair. You can get some really tiny micro ones. We've seen a little one that attaches to NWS plier handles. We've got a tiny little one I got from Ace Hardware. But when it comes to electric, you know, firstly, you want to check for dead with a proper meter. But I've been using this flute volt stick for so many years and it's never let me down. It's really reliable. It's really a positive bright light and a really loud buzz. It's just reliable. And sometimes it's a balance between the size of it, but also something you can trust, and it's like Old Faithful. So I really like the volt stick from Fluke, and that is in my kit. Moving along, we've got one of the smallest pocket levels on the market. This is made by Stabler, but this is the Worth red version. And the reason why I like it is it's not only is it so small, but the magnet is really, really powerful. And it's not just on the bottom, it's also on the side. And it's a beastly little thing, really small. You can't really beat that, to be honest. It's even got a little groove too, so if you're putting it on a socket box and there's like a little bit of folded metal that's popping up, it will like accommodate it. So I love that. That is also pretty essential in the toolkit. Moving on, in the bottom here, you can see we've got the soldering iron accessories. So they all just literally go underneath the soldering iron, so I don't lose any of them. Here, we've got another little bit driver. Now again, you can pick these up for like a couple of quid. But I have got a set of 1/4-inch bits in the top, and having the ability to get into really tight, hard to reach places, but still get some torque, this for a couple of quid, it's hardly taking up any room in the kit, but it's given me another option as a normal driver, so I can get in. It's like basically replacing a stubby set for me. But that's not the stubbiest item I've got. I've got an even stubbier. That's not even the shortest screwdriver option I've got. I've got another attachment in this kit as well, but I think that is quite a low cost addition to your kit. So I was really pleased to find a bit of space for that. So that went there. Now the penultimate item on this layer here, anyone guess what that is? Drop me a guess. You don't have to wait long for the answer. This is a little oil pen. Now it's by BDS Technic, and I found this on Amazon, and it's just a handy sealed item. So fine oil, like 3-in-1 oil, solves a lot of problems. Basically like WD-40, but even a small can of WD-40, firstly it's an aerosol, so it can't really go everywhere, it doesn't travel as well, and sometimes you're making a bit of a mess. This is a very fine oil pen, and essentially you just fill the head here with 3-in-1 oil, and then you can just put a little dot on a chain or on a hinge, and it's much easier, much more controlled, and it's got a seal on it. So when you tighten the lid on here, that oil is going to be in there forever. And there's no aerosol, there's no propellant, there's no smell, it's very controlled. And look how small it is. Having that in the kit will solve a few problems, but it can store safely for years without any problem, which I love. Now finally, we've got a little lockpick set. This set is by Covert Instruments. I think I discovered this through John's Gadgets. I watched John Gadget do some of his EDC kits, and I think it was him who recommended the Covert Instruments. Lockpicking sets might sound a bit of a strange choice for a compact toolkit, but I can tell you, one of the jobs I had, I worked with an engineer who had a lockpick kit, and he taught me how to pick some common locks. And it's a very useful skill. The amount of time someone will lock themselves out of their locker, or there'll be a padlock on something, a machine, and someone's lost the key or there's no key. And to be able to just quickly be able to undo that lock saves a lot. And then when the person turns up with the key the next day, especially lockers, every day someone's forgetting the key for the locker and they're having a nightmare. And rather than having to drill out the drum and change it, you can just a very basic lockpick kit like this. This is from Covert Instruments. It's got about 20 different picks and bars, all in this nice little like Swiss Army knife style. It's quite small, quite discreet. It goes underneath the oiler and it's there if I need it, which I really like. So there we go. That is the first 2 layers. Onto the top layer, the things that are all on hand first off. So right in the top, I've got the Milwaukee Inkzall. Now this is the dust-free version. Essentially, it's similar to a Sharpie, but it's a little bit more rugged and industrial. So that was a pretty cool start. We've also got a Hultafors mechanical pencil, which is just great to have. I mean, most work you're doing, you're gonna wanna be using a pencil so you can knock the marks off. Leaving permanent marker everywhere is no help. And the Hultafors one is just a really good quality one. I picked this up at the Bolton Tool Fair, I think, from Hultafors' stand. They're a pretty good price and they're just solid. They've got a nice feel to them, so I really like that. And then underneath that, we've got the first of 2 pens. This is just a Zebra extendable pen. Just extends a little bit like that. I've had this for a few years and I thought this is the kit it can live in, and it's just a full-size pen but just saves a little bit of room, which I think is quite nice. Down this end we've also got the main torch of the kit. This is the Unilite IL17R, and it charges with USB-C. So I've got one lead, charge everything in this kit, and it folds out. You've got a torch on the end, you've got a torch on the back and the side. And because it doesn't have AAA or AA batteries, I'm not worrying about the batteries exploding and having acid everywhere and storing them with batteries in, which is something I didn't want to contend with. This kit, I might leave it for a few months in the van. I might be getting in and out, but I might not use the torch very often. So it may die.
Some of you may die.
I do think a lithium battery will hold its charge for a long, long time. So I'm not worried about it dying too quickly. And I've got a lead in the pouch to charge it up. The main concern for me is sometimes the batteries will leak and then knacker it for its life. Next up, we've got one of my favourite quirky items that I found on all of my quirky tool hunts. This is a multi-tool that came from Germany. Looks quite traditional in the sense of how multi-tools look. Usually you'd open this up and find a pair of pliers. Not so with this. You open it up and you find a scraper. Now, I like a scraper. A scraper is a very versatile tool. It's very helpful in a lot of instances. And I have got, to be fair, I have got a steel ruler in there which can work as a scraper, but not nearly as good as a scraper with a nice solid handle, and you get a bit more force and a bit more pressure on it. Now, a traditional scraper would have taken a lot more room, and it wouldn't have had these extra little tools on it as well. So this has got a fixed knife, it's got a little bottle opener on it, it's got a saw, and then it's got an additional screwdriver. If all it had was a folding scraper, I'd have been happy. But it's also got like the roller cleaner, and it's got the tin opener. So bit of a beastly item that, and when I found it in Germany, I actually found a whole bunch of them. So that is this video's giveaway. You know how we do it on this channel. It's always 5. I think I've got 5. There's 4 there. Where's my other one? There it is. We've got 5 of these folding scrapers, one of the most useful multi-tools I think I've ever seen. And they're really solid too. A nice sturdy multi-tool, but with a scraper. So if you want one of these, I've got 5. Drop a comment down below this video. There's a conversation below this video all about tools and about the tools in this kit, probably items that I've not thought about or your ideas. Get involved, drop a comment down below, let me know what you would have added to this kit or any of these that stand out as absolute winners, and all of those comments will be entered into the giveaway as long as you've subscribed. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you drop a comment, drop a like while you're down there, and you'll be entered to win what is probably one of the most useful multi-tools ever made. And I absolutely love it. So I'll stick those back there. Now below that, we've also got a little tiny adjustable spanner. This thing is absolutely compact, but sometimes when you want to undo a very tiny little nut, a big old pair of grips, parallel grips like this, might be a bit too big and clunky. So having a really small little compact spanner, I think was a nice little addition. And again, it's just slotted underneath that multi-tool there, so that's quite a nice little add. But this is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting when it comes to nuts and bolts. It's the 8603 180 Knipex parallel grips, and these are great because you adjust them to the right size and then they lock down, they squeeze tight on a nut, and they're not going to be slipping and causing you problems like a pair of Cobra grips or pipe grips. They'll work as a grip, you can get a lot of gripping power with them, but they are really designed for getting a grip on a nut or a bolt. So that's a really cool, versatile little tool as well, which is in the kit. And it doesn't stop there with nuts and bolts, because I've added in this little thing here. This is from Klein. Pick this up in America, but you can get this on Amazon. And essentially, it's 6 sockets in one item. It's a metric set, so it's 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, and 7. And they just slide off this 1/4 inch shaft here, and essentially they'll turn any of our 1/4 inch bit holders, so like this one, is now turned into an 8mm nut spinner. For doing like terminal connections, motor connections, a nut spinner is the easiest tool to use for those instances. And having this, and obviously we've got a few different options for a handle. This can be a 1/4 inch bit holder as well. And literally we can put any of these 6 sockets on the end, and it's just, look how small it is once it all folds away. So it's really good quality, you know it's made well, it's going to last you a lifetime, that. And yeah, look how small it is, flipping awesome. So that goes with my 1/4 inch bit holders to make that even more useful. Below that we've got another pen, and this is a Fisher Space pen, which is just one of my all-time favourite pens, to be honest. If you've never heard the story about Fisher Space Pen, you want to look it up. Essentially, it was the Americans' design for a pen that would work in space, and it's a beauty, this thing. It's got like a pressurised cartridge. It'll write upside down, it'll write in the rain, it'll write everywhere. And it's just a really reliable compact pen, which when we're talking about the ultimate compact toolkit, you've got to have the ultimate compact pen. But I've also got a backup, because you know you're going to be working with someone who needs to lend a pen. So there you go, you've got a pen to lend and, and your main pen. Carrying on, we've got up here, you may have seen, I've missed an item at the top. This is also a 1/4 inch bit driver, but this is by Engineer. So this is a Japanese brand, and it is literally the slimmest, it's magnetic, and it's the slimmest little ratcheting screwdriver handle you can get, really. And it's just super low profile, so if you're trying to get somewhere that there's hardly any room, you can get down there, and then rather than having to take it on and off all the time, you can just ratchet the screws out. And obviously you don't have to click it left or right, you just put the bit in the other side if you want to tighten or if you want to loosen. So again, lovely little item, red to match the theme of the toolkit. and just giving a bit more versatility so you can do more jobs and you can solve more problems with the kit. If that was in a box with no foam, it'd just be lost in the bottom. But in here, it's right at the top and you're going to remember you've got it. Now below the torch was another item, and that is the Hoto precision screwdriver. Now again, it's one of those tools when you need a tiny little glasses screwdriver, or you need to take the little cover off a toy to change the batteries for your kid, you need a micro screwdriver, don't you? And having one in a kit like this, just ready to go, you know, it's hidden underneath the torch. I don't think it's something I'll be using very often, but here we've got 24 precision bits all held in a little cartridge that goes in the handle, and then the head turns, so this is like a rotating head. It's an aluminium body. It's just a really nice quality item. I got this on Black Friday. It was like 15 quid, I think, this thing. It's just a really nice little addition to the kit to make it even more reliable. Right, next up, we've got a really interesting item. This is quite a new one on me. I got this off Amazon as well, and this is essentially a compact multimeter, because the Fluke, the little volt stick's handy. That'll help you check for live cables. You can go through a bundle of cables. You can also double check that there's no power to something with that. So that's a really valuable, handy tool. But in reality, sometimes you need to check resistance. You want to check what voltage there is, if there's power properly, and be a little bit more reliable. Well, this is a bit of a multi-purpose tool, because it can do all of that. This thing can check voltage, AC and DC, it can check resistance. It's got a pair of probes with it, which click in the bottom. It also functions as a laser, as you can see. It's pointing a laser here, so if you want to like set up a line of spotlights or something quite quickly, it's just another function built in. I don't think I can imagine using the laser very often. It's got a little torch built in as well, so it's like a backup torch. And we've also got a full volt stick built in this as well. So you've got this one, which is my main go-to for a volt stick. But this too has got one built in, and it's not much bigger. So I could have probably left that out, but I just love this. It's like old trusty. It's the thing that I want to be able to get, and I know I've used it long enough to feel like I'm happy with this. This is a bit of a new one, but I think it's great to have in the toolkit, because even if you just want to check if a fuse is blown and do some basic diagnostics, you need a multimeter with some probe, which is what this is doing. So great little addition to the toolkit. We've also got, every toolkit has got a utility knife. Now, utility knives come all shapes and sizes, and I've got a pretty good collection. And I'm always looking for one that's got like an alternative use, but most of the time the uses are a little bit unnecessary, really. They're not that good. Or I did find a pretty cool drywall knife, which was a jab saw and a knife in one, but it's pretty bulky, pretty big item. Or another favorite I really like is like the Tough Built knife. This has got a pry bar. It's a knife, but it can also rotate the head and turn it into a scraper. So, because I've already got a scraper, I've already got a pretty good crowbar, I thought this was the next best option. And it's essentially a Gerber utility knife. It's a full metal body. It's got a little belt cutter on it, and it's got a bottle opener on it, but it's also got this really solid pry bar, which I really like. That was probably the best addition to this toolkit and adds another layer of versatility, which I really like. Below the knife, we've got a bit set. I've mentioned a few times, I've got a few 1/4" bit driving options, so I definitely need a bit set. This is by Verth, and it's a pretty good quality bit set. And then finally, we've got a Zippo, and we've also got, below the Zippo, is a bundle of machine keys. And this is basically all the factories I used to work in as a contractor. They'd always have standard machinery, standard locks, and they usually have standard keys. So you'll know what I mean if I say a 455 key. 455 key is like industry wide. It runs most things. If you've got a 455 key, you can get into or start or work on a lot of different equipment and machines. This is a full set of machine keys. These are from my days as an engineer. Why not have them in my toolkit where I need them? I don't need them in my key cabinet because they're just for machinery basically. So they are in a little hidden compartment underneath my Zippo. And every toolkit has got to have a lighter in it, and this is my favourite Zippo. I've got a full Zippo box of 100 Zippos. You can go and watch the video here if you want to see it. I built the box, stained it, covered it in velvet, made a tray, cut all the foam, and that was 100 Zippos from a Zippo collection that I bought. This one was a gift to me, and it's just a really cool tool design. And I think having a lighter, having a Zippo that you can refill, recharge in the kit. You know, toolkits are not just about fitting the most in, it's also fitting tools you love and you like to use, which is what that's about really, having my favourite Zippo in the kit. So that is my toolkit. What do you reckon? Let me know. I really racked my brains putting this toolkit together to make sure I covered the most bases, the most problems I could think of. And when it's all in the foam, you can find it all, you know where everything is, you can flick through and see what you've got. If I just put all of those tools in that bag loose, I'd be relying on remembering what I had pretty much. And it's quite easy to forget. There probably would be a touch more room, but where's the value? If you don't know what you've got and it's all a mess and it's all getting covered in dust and clutter, I don't think that is nearly as good as having all of these tools perfectly organized, really visible. You can get out all 3 trays, see what you've got, and know what tool it is you need to solve whatever problem it is you're facing. So that is a roundup of my full toolkit, and I think I've got every base covered there. I really enjoyed putting this together, but it has been years of development and adding items, removing items. There's a couple of other items that I could have included. I've got a really nice utility key that folds down, and I thought that was a pretty cool option. I got that from Germany. I thought that could have been included, but I prefer the Verth version. I think it takes up a little less room and it's a bit more solid. This is another set of compact Allen keys by Crescent. This goes all the way up to 10mm and it's quite small, but again, I think you don't really need 10mm and 8mm. And this is a much more compact set. So there are a few tools that I'd considered, but I never included. But I think what I've ended up on is something I really like. It's gonna be really useful for me. I'm gonna have it in the back of my van at all times, and it's small enough to just grab it and go in a house. You know, when, you're always getting asked for favors when you're handy. When you can do jobs, someone will always be asking you, can you have a look at this? Can you have a look at that? If I've got this toolkit with me, I'll be much more useful. I'll be able to do a lot more repairs if I need to in a pinch. Now the foam, I cut all 3 of these pieces of foam out of a standard value pack sheet. So if you're interested in some shadow foam, I'll put a link to a starter kit. A starter kit comes with 3 sheets of 50mm, and one of those sheets was enough to cut these 3 layers. So I cut them down to the size. I literally just measured the width and the height of the bag, cut the 3 pieces. As you can see, I've cut a nice little handle on these top 2, just to make it a little bit easier to lift them out. That's how they go in the box. And literally the hard part was putting the toolkit together. Once I knew what I was having, I just laid all the items out on the foam, kind of started cutting. And with shadow foam, it's as easy as place the item where you want it to go, cut around the shape, peel back the foam layers, and then literally the item has a perfect location. And in most instances, I was putting an item underneath and then cutting that item in the exact same way, just so I could fit a lot more items in. And everything has its own little home. And if you want to make a compact toolkit like this, it doesn't have to be in the Facon bag, it doesn't have to be in red foam. We've got 10 colours of foam. And let me know in the comments what tool bag or what compact case you would go for and what tools you think I may have missed, because all of those comments will be entered in with a chance to win one of the paint scraper multi-tool, one of the best things I've ever found. I've got 5 of those, so there's a great chance you'll win one, and all you've got to do, like I say, is drop that comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and subscribing costs nothing. We get that comment quite a lot. How much does subscription cost? Well, if you didn't know, subscription on YouTube costs absolutely nothing. All it means is when you click that subscribe button, you are a member of this channel and you've joined us, and you'll see our videos popping up on your feed. So whenever you log into YouTube, our videos will keep appearing for you. You won't miss any of my tool travels and any of my tool hunts or any of my toolkit builds, because I think I'd like to do an emergency van kit. So I've got all of the tools that you need in a breakdown situation, which are probably slightly different to this. So let me know if you'd like to see that video. Thank you very much for watching the 2025 Ultimate Compact Toolkit. Get your comments down below. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.